One challenge that many music students have is remembering the order of the sharps and flats in the key signatures. Now, with up to 7 sharps or 7 flats in a key signature, it can seem daunting to try to remember the order. Yet it turns out there's a very simple trick that I'd like to teach you that allows you to remember them very easily. So let's get started. The first thing to remember is that sharps raise notes while flats lower them. So as far as the piano keyboard is concerned, when you think of sharps, think of going up the keyboard, and when you think of flats, think of going down. The next thing to remember is the first sharp and the first flat. And finally, we need to remember that accidentals, or in other words, sharps or flats, are a fifth away from each other. Now the first sharp we'll encounter in the key signature is F sharp. So let's take this as our starting point. So this is the F sharp above middle C, and we can go up a perfect fifth by playing the first 5 notes of a scale starting on F sharp. So we'll play a major scale starting on this note. You know the formula: whole step, half step, whole step. So here it is. And we arrive at C sharp. So this note is a perfect fifth above F sharp. Now, if we look at the key signature with 2 sharps, we have F sharp and then C sharp. Now let's find the third sharp. How do we do this? We'll just use the same method. So let's play a scale starting on C sharp and stop on the 5th note. So here it is. G sharp. And sure enough, G sharp is the third sharp found in the key signature with 3 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, then G sharp. Now we can keep going using this method. A perfect fifth above G sharp is D sharp. And a perfect fifth above this is A sharp. Now here's a pop quiz for you. Which note is a perfect fifth above A sharp? Let's take a look at the keyboard. So which note is this? Be careful. You might be tempted to say F, but in this case, remember we're dealing with the sharps. So this is actually an E sharp. And finally, what is a perfect fifth above E sharp? And again, remember we're dealing with the sharps here, so this is not a C, instead it is a B sharp. So let's go back to the beginning. F sharp is our first sharp, then C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and finally B sharp. So that is the order of the sharps. So let's do the same thing now with the flat keys. Can you remember the first flat that we encounter in a key signature? I'll give you a hint. This key is F major. And there it is. So it's actually B flat. So how do we find the next flat? Now, it's a perfect fifth from B flat. But remember one very important thing. Remember how we said we associate sharps with going up the keyboard, but flats with going down the keyboard. So this time we're going to go down a perfect fifth. And we'll start on B flat. And we will first play a whole step down. And there we go. And now we arrive on E flat. So E flat is a perfect fifth down from B flat. And we can do the same thing to find the next flat. Start with a whole step. And this is A flat. A flat is the third flat that we find in the flat key signatures. B flat, E flat, A flat. And a fifth down from here is D flat. And can you find the next flat? Play 5 scale notes down from D flat, starting with a whole step. Run D flat, whole step. And sure enough, we arrive on G flat. And now a question, which note is a perfect fifth below G flat? Now be careful here. So we'll start on G flat, play a whole step down. We play 5 scale degrees, and which note do we arrive on? What is this? Now you might be thinking B, but remember that the first white key that we landed on when we worked out the sharps, remember that one? It was not F, it was actually E sharp. So the same thing holds here, but it's a flat. So it's not a B, it's a C flat. And last but not least, what note is a perfect fifth down from C flat? And here we go. So this one is actually an F flat. Now, I'm cheating a little bit now because these extra keys are not on most pianos. I'm playing a Bosendorfer Imperial, which famously has 9 extra keys in the bass. So most standard piano, well, a standard piano nowadays has 88 keys. So this is normally this A is the bottom note and goes all the way up to C, but the Imperial keeps going. This is now the order of the flat keys, starting on B flat, then E flat, perfect fifth down, A flat, perfect fifth down, D flat, then G flat, C flat, and finally F flat. So you can use this trick anytime in order to find the order of the sharps and the flats quickly.